Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about Ethiopia because a new article came out on the church website talking about this new mission, or at least relatively new mission in Ethiopia that I didn't know about. And I got to thinking about it because recently we were talking about this church pamphlet that's come out for understanding between members of the church and Islam. And Ethiopia is not really an Islamic country, it's more Christian. But there's interesting things about Ethiopia, and there's interesting things going on in the church when it comes to getting into places that it hasn't really been before. And I think that this is one of them. Not that we haven't been in Ethiopia before, but it's interesting these recent developments. Okay, so just there's some interesting things I want to share uh, about this, including some Lost 10 Tribes stuff, because we have a group here that believes that they're descended from the tribe of Dan. Uh, there's just a lot. There's a lot. So just hang with me, okay? So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like this video if you end up liking it. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Anything that strikes you, put it in the comments below. And then also make sure to share this with anyone that's interested in this type of thing. So I'm going to read this article last because I want to give kind of like um, some of the background of Ethiopia before we get into the article. Okay, so here's the breakdown of the main religions in Ethiopia. This is on Britannica.com. Okay, Christianity is the majority. Here in the orange, you have Orthodox Christian, like the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and then blue is Protestant. Okay, so you can see that already the majority, the vast majority, is Christian. In purple, that's the Catholic Church. Green, traditional beliefs. Light blue is other, and then pink here is Muslim. So there is a sizable Muslim population in Ethiopia. And you'll notice that Judaism isn't on here. That's because it's really small. And also, something happened um, where there was like a mass exodus, basically, of Jews. So let's just read some of this stuff here that I have highlighted. Okay, Christianity was introduced in Ethiopia in the 4th century. So in the 300s. So pretty early on, not too long after the time of Christ. Very, very, very early on. And the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, called Tawadu or Tawado in Ethiopia, is one of the oldest organized Christian bodies in the world. The church has long enjoyed a dominant role in the culture and politics of Ethiopia, having served as the official religion of the ruling elite until the demise of the monarchy in 1974. Now, you have to think about that because just like a lot of other things, a lot of things that change politically in the world, this event in 1974 was probably an opening of the way for our church um, to enter into the country and start to grow. The church is still pretty small there. We're going to read about it in this article. But this is probably one of those key events. Well, and also just the fact that Christianity has been here for so long, since the 4th century AD, right? That was obviously a key event in the history of Ethiopia. It certainly sets the stage and makes it easier for us to do missionary work when the majority of the population is already Christian and understands the concept of Christ and Him being the Messiah and just having a long, long tradition of Christianity. That certainly helps. So, first we have the early establishment of Christianity in the country, and then we have the demise of the monarchy, okay, which paved the way for other churches, I think, to thrive in the country. Okay, and then down here we have Judaism. Even though it didn't show up in that pie chart, it says Judaism has long been practiced in the vicinity of the ancient city of Gondar. Most of the Ethiopian Jews who call themselves Beta Israel have relocated to Israel. Okay, and then it says it has a researcher's note, Beta Israel migration to Israel, 1980 to 1992, and I have that pulled up right here. Okay, there's disagreement among sources regarding the total number of Beta Israel that reached Israel in the 80s and early 90s. So there was this like kind of mass exodus of Jews that had been formerly living in Ethiopia that moved to Israel in Aliyah. Aliyah is the immigration to Israel. According to Immigration to Israel 1992, a publication of the Central Bureau of Statistics of Israel, 44,766 Ethiopians entered the country between 1980 and 1992. In contrast to the period from 1952 to 1979, when only 466 Ethiopian immigrants were registered. 12,575 entered Israel in the period of 1980 to 84, 4,390 in 1985 to 89, 24,151 in 90 to 91, and 3,650 in 1992. Okay, so there's been multiple, I don't know, clusters of, well, I don't know how it all went down, but those are the numbers. So a little bit of migration between the creation of the state of Israel to 79, only 466, and then you have these larger numbers that happened afterward, starting in 1980. Most of the people arriving from Ethiopia were of the Beta Israel, who reached Israel through coordinated evacuation efforts. One of the larger evacuations, it's kind of weird that they're calling it evacuations, there must be a story behind that. One of the larger evacuations, which later became known as Operation Moses, mid-November 1984 to January 1985, was credited with the transport of more than 6,500 individuals. Okay, so that was Operation Moses. In Operation Solomon, which was May 24th to 25th of 1991, more than 14,000 of the Beta Israel were airlifted from Addis Ababa to Tel Aviv. Now, Addis Ababa, that's the name of the mission, the new mission that's there. And when I say new, I mean relatively new. It's not like this year or last year. I think it was 2020. But yeah, we're going to read about that later. Okay, so the Jews in the country call themselves Beta Israel, and there have been these migrations or aliyah from Ethiopia to Israel. So had they remained, I don't know if this pie chart would have been changed very much. Maybe they would have been one of these small slivers right here. I don't know. But they were there, and there still are some that are there. Now, I have this playlist about the 10 lost tribes, right? Because I'm not one that really believes that there's a group that's hidden somewhere in the earth or in outer space. I believe that they are very much on the earth, and there are these groups that are just throughout the world. I believe that the main group went up into the North countries, into Europe, right? And then other groups went to other places, including Ethiopia. Now, I've been going through this Wikipedia article that's a list of groups claiming affiliation with Israelites, and it's broken down into these different categories. The first category is claimed Israel descent with lineage proven and recognized as Jewish. And we've talked about the Cochin Jews. They're from India, and they did like a similar thing. Once Israel became a state, they almost immediately all up and left and migrated to Israel. The second group is claimed Israel descent with lineage unproven, but recognized as Jews. And in that group, we have the Beta Israel, the group that we're talking about right now from Ethiopia. And then after that, there's claimed Israel descent with lineage unproven and not recognized as Jews. And we've gone over the Igbo Jews from Nigeria, which is interesting because Nigeria, okay, they, as far as the church goes, there are a lot of members of the church in Nigeria. Nigeria is actually kind of a powerhouse for the church. When you come over here and you look, this is a temple map. This is from Church of Jesus Christ Temples.org. It's not an official church site, but it's a really good resource for temple information. Well, when we look here at the world map, um, here's Africa, right? And where the Igbos are from Nigeria, which is right here, we've got 3 temples. Well, one, okay, what do the different dots mean? I'll have to look at that really quick. I forget. So red is in operation, yellow is announced. Okay. Purple is under renovation, and then blue under construction. So you can ignore the purple mostly. We got in operation is red, under construction blue, yellow is announced. So let's go back to this map. So in Nigeria, where the Igbos are, we have one that's been in operation for a while. I think since like 1999 or 2000. When I was on my mission, there were only 3 temples in Africa. That was back in 2004 to 2006. We had the Accra, Ghana temple, and then what was it? The Aba, Nigeria temple, and then we had the one that was in Johannesburg, in South Africa. That was it. Now look at the map today. Look at the map today. This is crazy. Nigeria is exploding. And it just happens to have one of these groups that claims to be from Israel. Now we have Ethiopia over here that this mission just opened up within the last 24 months. Are we going to see a temple here someday soon? I wouldn't be surprised if we do. And I don't personally doubt their claims to be from the tribe of Dan. And also to have there's other traditions that say that there's some traditional like from Judah that's mixed in, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I think that this is the Lord's work. Yeah, well, obviously it's the Lord's work, but that this is like happening the way that it's supposed to. We've talked about how it seems like the time of the Gentiles is coming to a close. Some of us believe that it basically is, because Israel's back in Jerusalem, so it's not being trodden by the Gentiles anymore, really. Kind of, but not really. It seems like the bulk of the missionary work has been done. It seems like like the dropping of the trumpet of Angel Moroni from the Salt Lake Temple in 2020, March 2020, was an act of God, and it was meant to send a message to those that are watching that time's up. Time seems to be up. You look at all these temples across the world, and we're pretty well established, except for some of these parts. We know that after the gospel goes to the Gentiles, it's going to go to the Jews. Now, I think a lot of the time we think about the Jews being in the state of Israel, but what about some of these other Jews that are in Ethiopia and Nigeria and other places? The world is becoming more and more connected. Information is shared a lot more easily, and there's more exposure. There's more exposure to the gospel. So, I mean, we're talking about Ethiopia being from Dan, so maybe that doesn't qualify, but in any case, it seems like there's kind of a shift, and the church is being able to access more places because of the internet, new missions, and just stuff like that. Things are changing. Things are changing. So, anyway, Africa right now is really popping off. Look at Africa. Look at Africa and these temples compared to Europe. Look at Europe compared to Africa. It looks like a pretty similar number of temples between all the temples that are announced, in construction, and operating. The number looks pretty. Let's count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 in Europe. How many in Africa? We're going to count this one right here. I think this is Cape Verde. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 and 19. Is that what I counted up here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So Africa is now tied with Europe, if you count all phases of temple construction, um, from announced all the way to operational. It has the same number as Europe. Has the same number as Europe. And frankly, the way that it's growing, I wouldn't be surprised if Africa starts looking like South America over here. South America, not including Central America and the Caribbean, but just South America, the continent proper, right? And then not only that, but we have this temple over here in India, right? And we know that there's those communities, including the Kochins, that are in India, and we've talked about those on the channel. So the point is, things are starting to happen in places that they haven't happened before, namely Africa, the Middle East, with this temple in United Arab Emirates, and then are we going to soon see one going up in Ethiopia and other places? Don't know, but it looks like it's headed in that direction. Okay, so we got, okay, so back here, so we got the Beta Israel have a tradition of being descended from the lost tribe of Dan. All right. And then over here, there's some additional information about the Beta Israel. Most of Beta Israel community immigrated to Israel in the late 20th century. This just talks about Operation Moses and Operation, Operation Joshua. It looks like there's another one. And then there was Operation Solomon. Operation Brothers. Okay, so whatever. So let's move down here. Okay, oral traditions. Contemporary scholars believe that Beta Israel emerged comparatively recently and formed a distinct ethno-national group in the context of historical pressures that came to a head from the 14th to 16th centuries. Now that's just one school of thought. There's another school of thought that gives it more um, credence. Anyway, many of the Beta Israel's accounts of their own origins state that they stem from the very ancient migration of some portion of the tribe of Dan to Ethiopia, were led by the sons of Moses, perhaps at the time of the Exodus. Alternative timelines include the later crisis in Judea, e.g., the split of the northern kingdom of Israel from the southern kingdom of Judah after the death of King Solomon, or the Babylonian exile. Other Beta Israel take as their basis the Christian account of Menelik's return to Egypt, or to Ethiopia. Menelik is considered the first Solomonic emperor of Ethiopia and is traditionally believed to be the son of King Solomon of ancient Israel. So we have this figure here of Menelik, son of King Solomon, and Makeda, ancient queen of Sheba in modern Ethiopia. Though all the available traditions correspond to recent interpretations, they reflect ancient convictions, according to John Abink. 3 different versions are to be distinguished among the traditions which were recorded by the priests of the community. So a few different traditions. I'm not going to go into all of it, but there's stuff here. The point is, there are these beliefs. They've done some DNA testing, and they do seem to have some Semitic DNA, although they're mostly, like it says here, Ethiopian Jews is the DNA of Ethiopian Jews is mostly of East African origin, but about 20% of their genetic makeup is of Middle Eastern Semitic people. So there is some, evidence that they probably are somewhat descended from the Jews, or at least from Semitic peoples. So it is believable, and I in my heart, I do tend to think that this probably is correct. Uh, Although they've mixed in with the local population, they do have um, that's a substantial part that is Israelite. Okay. Well, so let's see what's going on here with this mission in Ethiopia. I'm going to zoom in here in case you want to follow along. When Robert and Doris Dudfield of Melbourne, Australia, were called in late 2019 to serve as mission president and companion in an English-speaking assignment in mid-2020, they had no idea what awaited. Presiding over a new mission, arriving late but before missionaries. So now, okay, presiding over a brand new mission, so a new mission, arriving late but before missionaries were even in the mission, battling COVID-19, sending missionaries 2,700 miles away for their temple endowments because they didn't have their endowments before getting there, and there wasn't a temple there in Ethiopia, so they had to be sent somewhere to get their endowments, and recently relocating to a neighboring country because of civil unrest, because um, the work got disrupted. They had to go to Kenya. So a lot of craziness for a mission president and his wife. Probably not the typical experience of any given mission president. Welcome to the Ethiopia Addis Ababa mission and the present life and times of President Robert Dudfield and Sister Doris Dudfield, who see how the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has great potential to grow in the northwestern African nation and bless individuals, families, and communities. Okay, so you can tell that it's been an interesting time. After the June 2020 seminar for new mission leaders, the Dudfields didn't reach Addis Ababa until that August due to COVID-19 restrictions. So I guess essentially the mission kind of opened. I guess technically it was supposed to be June, but it was August of 2020. A handful of local members greeted them since the new mission was without missionaries. Those to be assigned from nearby Uganda had been returned home due to the pandemic. 8 missionaries soon arrived with limited remote training and wearing their best attire. Their Sunday best for some was a pair of ripped jeans and one shirt. That's all they had, and your heart goes out to them, President Dudfield said. Okay, so here's a picture. I guess these are the 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2 sister companionships and 2 elder companionships. That's crazy. And then there's brother and sister Dudfield. Okay, President Dudfield was diagnosed with severe symptoms of COVID-19. Spent much of October 2020, just after they started. Much of October 2020 hospitalized, his lungs riddled with viral and bacterial pneumonia. Quote unquote, most of the time I was on oxygen. It was very difficult to talk. Okay. Here's another picture. This is like a Russian doctor. I guess that this is like the mission doctor. Let's see. President Robert Dudfield and Sister Doris Dudfield Wright, in second from right, are joined by Dr. Andrei Waliskevich Klimash, left, and his wife Eileen. Klimash, a Russian neurosurgeon, helped get Dr. Dudfield admitted to an Addis Ababa hospital after contracting COVID-19. And the former St. Petersburg stake president gave the mission president a priesthood blessing in the hospital. Okay, so I don't think he's actually part of the mission. He was just there in Ethiopia. Whatever, it doesn't matter. That's a great story, though. The church in Ethiopia, with a faith makeup of 2/3 Christian and 1/3 Muslim, Ethiopians benefit from a rich religious history and a knowledge and understanding of the Old and New Testaments, President Dudfield said. While the Ethiopian mission is new, the church has been established there since the early 1990s, with the country home to about 2,000 Latter-day Saints. So see, it really was, I think, meant to be, and a clearing of the way when that monarchy fell in the 70s, right? Because the history of the church only goes back to the 90s. So essentially, Ethiopia, in relative terms, it's starting off. It's just starting with our church. The church is brand new there. It's in its well, at this point, not necessarily in its infancy, but it's really young. The Dudfields underscore the faith, testimonies, and efforts of the local leaders and the members and their commitment to missionary work, reactivation, progressing along the covenant path, and preparing for Ethiopia's first stake. So it doesn't even have a stake yet. Quote, the goal is always to be able to help the country become temple ready. So the next step is to be able to strengthen families through ordinances because it helps to strengthen communities and it strengthens the nation. End quote. The steps are obvious, he said. First families, then a stake, then a temple. We got no doubt that at some point in time, the prophet of God will announce a temple for Ethiopia. For now, what we're doing is we're laying the foundation. As the scripture says, the foundation of the great work. To the temple. Because of the pandemic, missionaries assigned to serve in Ethiopia had no on-site missionary training center experience and no temple endowment. That's such a crazy way to start a mission, in my mind. The Dudfields started preparations to send a first small group of missionaries and later a second to the Accra, Ghana temple for instruction, worship, and covenants. Ethiopian Latter-day Saints previously had participated at the temple in English, but arrangements were made to have Ghana Missionary Training Center teachers and a returned missionary sister of one of the traveling missionaries to read the temple instruction and ordinances in Amharic. This is wild. These guys are pioneers. They're pioneers within their nation and their people. Missionaries going to Accra were also able to receive their patriarchal blessing, since there is no stake and no patriarch in Ethiopia. Yet. And here's a picture of them. Okay, well, I was hoping I could scroll up and see them better, but here they are. Relocation to Kenya. Okay, so in early November 2021, so just a few months ago at the time of this recording, civil unrest spread across Ethiopia, including misperceptions that the church's full-time missionaries were recruited and employed rather than volunteers serving from their own support and of their families, President Dudfield said. Okay, this picture, let's see. Elder Thierry K. Mutombo left, a General Authority 70 who serves in the Africa Central Area Presidency, joins President Robert Dudfield of the Ethiopia Addis Ababa mission and his missionaries for a photo in late 2021 in Kenya, following the mission's temporary relocation there. So this is, I guess, the full mission for Ethiopia. Wow, okay. The decision was made to relocate those serving in Ethiopia Addis Ababa missionaries and mission leaders to neighboring Kenya, with the move endorsed by the First Presidency and the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. And just so you know, here we have Ethiopia. It's just north of Kenya. Oh, and there is Addis Ababa right there. It's like right in the center of the country. So they just went south to neighboring Kenya. The exodus of the Dudfields and 67 full-time missionaries proved challenging. Packing for the temporary relocation, keeping luggage at appropriate weights, getting and passing COVID-19 tests, arranging for visas, finding and collecting passports, traveling en masse to the airport, and then getting checked in and through immigration on the same flight to Nairobi. Gosh. Yeah, that sounds like a headache. That sounds just like an all-out headache. Okay, quote, it was just a miracle. It was just a miracle after miracle of things unfolding. We're having some remarkable experiences here in Kenya as we continue to operate as the Ethiopia Addis Ababa mission, just located in a different location for a period of time, end quote. The transition, Sister Dudfield explains, can be stressful, I imagine. Trying to help missionaries reach out to contacts in Ethiopia, in an area of the world where smartphones and internet are expensive and far from the norm. It does make it challenging, she said, but our missionaries are putting in the extra work. Missionaries are reconnecting with less active and local members in Ethiopia. Uh, with the less active, and the local members in Ethiopia are helping to continue the on-site work, including convert baptisms, even without the in-person presence of the missionaries, President Dudfield said. In Nairobi, the Dudfields and their missionaries have located 3 large communities of thousands upon thousands of Ethiopians, an opportunity to share the gospel in Amharic and Oromo. Quote, "We would not have had that experience had we not been here in Kenya. To be able to reach out both to the Ethiopian people here in Kenya and also to be able to connect with their families back in Ethiopia." Well, so I mean, you have to think that it's probably meant to be. You know, at the very beginning of the mission, they kind of start out here in Ethiopia, then they go for a temporary time here to Kenya, reach out to those Ethiopian communities in Kenya, and then hopefully soon, or just whenever the time is right, they'll be able to go back to Ethiopia, and hopefully the church will continue to grow here, and then eventually have a dot here on the map of a temple. So let's hope that that happens. That would be amazing. Let's hope that the gospel continues to spread throughout Africa and then, of course, throughout the rest of the world. But amazing things are happening. It really is an exciting time to be alive and to be a member of the church and witness what's happening. Hopefully, Europe at some point will pick up, but we'll just see. There's a real spiritual problem in Europe, but it's not everything is lost. Just like Elder Holland said in the UK devotional, we'd be foolish to think that there isn't a lot more Israelite blood to be gleaned from the United Kingdom, and I'm sure that's true for the rest of Europe as well. But we'll just have to see how things unfold. Okay, so that's it for this one. Exciting things are happening. Um, if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you liked it, make sure to leave your thoughts and comments and any impressions that you had in the comments below. Also, make sure to share this with anyone that might find this interesting, and I'll talk to you guys later.